Hi there, Bill with 30-Minute Woodshop. Thanks for joining. Today I want to show you how to make a child's rocker. Now, like always, you can find dimension sketches like these on my website. Go down here, 30minutewoodshop.com. You can pick those up, read the blog and how it's done. And of course, you can also watch this. Now, one of the things I did, because I've never made one of these before, when I did the design work, I took it off of a photo that I had from a antique dealer. How much of an antique it really was, I don't know. Maybe it was just vintage. But took the photo, translated it into some drawings, and because I've never made one, I created this mock-up out of cardboard. So you can kind of see, sitting here, it looks like the right dimensions. I pretty much have everything. The only thing I'm not 100% certain of is the rockers. They're kind of coarsely cut in cardboard, so I'm not certain if that's why it's not rocking exactly the way I'd like it to rock. But we'll work on that in a little bit. Anyway, let's get started. Materials. Materials are really easy in this project. I'm using a 1x12 pine board. This is actually effectively not quite construction grade, but it's pretty cheap. I think it was 16 bucks for the 8-foot board. Now, this would look really good in oak, look really good in walnut or maple or cherry. If you want to pick one of those, absolutely. You'll have an heirloom rocker for sure. Now, first thing we want to do is do a little bit of cutting to length, because I don't want to have to manhandle this whole thing around. Looks like a big pain in the rear. Let's do some marking. Okay, my drawings say I need two sides that are going to be 23 inches long. Yep, so let's make a couple pieces. I'm going to make them about 23 1/4, just to give me a little bit of extra room to do some trim work. But we'll do two pieces at 23 1/4. And we'll cross cut these over on the radial arm saw. And we'll be good to go. Let's go over to the saw. Okay, real quick on safety, be sure you read and follow the instructions for any power tool that you use. And make sure you're wearing safety glasses and hearing protection. I have to use these IsoTunes. Love these things. Link in the bottom if you're interested in those, because I can catch, Bluetooth phone calls and all that. Okay, started my layout. What I did here is I came in 2 inches from here from the corner. This is my registration corner. This is the 1 foot. I came across here to 10 inches, came back 2 inches, and this is my 2nd foot. So, next thing I did is I measured up here 8.5 inches. Then I added 2 inches because I wanted a 2-inch arc here, radius arc. I measured in 2 inches. And then measured in 6.5 inches, which gave me this point and this point. I struck a line, so this is where my arm is going to be. All this is a little bit of relief. This is how I put it in, folks. I just grabbed a coffee cup here, drew it in. Nothing substantial. If you want to make it exactly 2 inches, you can grab a compass and do all that. Next thing I want to do is I have this marked back here, and I have a 10-inch mark up here, so it's 10 inches across. What I'm going to do now is, this is a slick little invention that somebody made, 1,000 years ago. All I'm going to do is take this nice flexy piece of pine, and I'm going to bend it and hold it in place with a cord. Now you can actually, there's a radius call out here, so if you want to use the radius call out, you can absolutely do that. And all I'm doing here is just setting this up. We'll tighten this up just a bit skosh until I get the radius that I want out the back, and I don't have to go through all the contortions of setting up a center someplace else. Way out. Okay. So now all I have to do is put it on the 2-inch mark and then adjust it so that the inside touches that. And there we go. So that should be pretty good. Now what this does is gives me a really nice arc, consistent arc. All right, now it's the back. Now I need one for the front, but to do that, I'm going to come in here again, I'm just using a coffee cup here. Okay. So all I did is mark that, the coffee cup. I'll do the same thing right here. From there all the way down to here. Okay. Now, one thing I got to put in is this one down here. I'm going to use a paint can to mark that. Set it up on the marks. And there we go. Now, all the dimensions are out there if you want them. But, pretty straightforward setting this thing up. Now all I have to do is cut it out. I'm going to use a bandsaw. You guys could use a jigsaw, a handsaw. There's all kinds of different ways to do this. But let's get over to the bandsaw. Bandsaw made short work of it. You can see it turned out really nice. By the way, I did use two-face tape to hold both right and left sides together. Makes it way easier. That way they both look exactly the same. So if I make a mistake, they look exactly the same. Anyway, we're ready to start doing some sanding. I'm going to edge sand these to get rid of some of the bandsaw marks. Then I'm going to come back and do some routing. Let's start sanding. So with the shaping done on the sander, we're ready to start routing. I've marked all the edges I'm going to be routing with this 3/8 roundover bit with a Sharpie, just so I don't hit the areas that I don't want, which is the bottom of the feet and this top edge, because this is going to have a arm on top of it, so I don't want to bother routing this over. But we'll route over all this on both sides, make it nice and smooth and easy, so when a child's sitting in it, they don't have any problem. Let's start routing. Dry fit. I had to do a few operations without the camera, had a few problems, technical glitches, but nothing to really miss. All I did is cross-cut the back, cross-cut the seat, put an arc up here with a bandsaw, put a couple little arcs down here, then I hit it with a router table. Same operations, nothing significant, and they're very, very fast. But with the dry fit, all right, you can see how this is looking relative to the mock-up that I made in cardboard. Looks much better this way, I tell you. But we're getting there pretty close. A few more operations we have to get on here. I got to make the rockers. I'm going to have to put arm caps in here. I want this more finished than just routing these edges, which I could do, but I want this a little more finished. I'll probably put some decorations on here. There's a lot of sanding I still have to do because I want these edges to be nice and smooth and soft. So when my granddaughter grabs hold of this, or her mom, it feels good. So let's keep working, folks. I got my rocker parts cut out, rocker blanks cut out anyway. So these are 24 inches long, and they're actually 2x4s, so I'm sticking with my pine. I do have my fairing stick here. I have the layout set, so it's 24 inches across. I've come up 2 3/4 inches. I've marked the center line, and I bent my fairing stick so it touches at this point, center point, and right here at the end. So now all I have to do is mark this. Making sure it doesn't get wandered around too much. And there we go. So I'm going to mark out the other one. Then we'll take them over to the bandsaw. Well, I have to say this is an amazingly fast project. Got the rockers already cut out. I got them formed or fit with the sander. Got them routed. They're looking really good. As you can see, rock's really nice. Won't tip. I mean, you really got to push it to tip this thing. Oh. That's the next thing I got to do now. If you notice, down here, there's a gap, okay? So I got to cut these feet to match the radius that I have here. That's going to be pretty simple. All I'm going to do is hold up the rocker right up to the edge, and I'm just going to mark a line. Then I'm going to take my hand saw and do a quick saw to that line and do some forming with a file so it touches down across the entire curve, and we'll be good to go. Then we got to do some sanding and then assembly and some staining and varnishing and those kind of things. So let's keep working. So that's pretty simple. Now we'll do all 4 of those. And we'll go over to the bandsaw, give them a quick cut, and then over to the sander, do a quick sanding. We've got all the pieces cut out. Everything's been routed. Now I've got 2 more things I need to do here. One is sanding. There is a lot of sanding here. This is going to a child, so I want to make sure it's super smooth. I'm going to be running through the grits using my orbital sander. The other thing is I want to put some decorations on this, so I'll probably take it down to the laser, put something on here, maybe put a heart in here in the back, something like that. But why don't we get started doing some sanding. Sanding's done. I've done some decorations here with the laser, putting some things on the side here, the little poo thing here for my granddaughter. So it's looking pretty good. Now I've dry fit everything, just to make sure it all goes together right. Couple things I did in dry fitting. Let me get this apart and I'll show you. All right, so what I did here is this. Rather than putting this together, it's kind of like you need to be a 3-handed monkey, okay? So what I did is I just taped these in with 2-phase tape, right? So this is where the where the seat's going to sit. So when I set this up and assemble it, I can set the seat on there, I can set the bed against here, against these pieces, and that gives me the correct orientation and the correct heights. And all I did is I just put these little tiny blocks here, 5 inches down, 1.75 inches in here at a, I think it's a 5-degree angle. You could choose to do whatever, you don't have to do a 5-degree angle, but for me that's what I think looks best. Now, easy to do for me, got this set up, makes my assembly much easier because again, all I got to do, set it on here, clamp it, screw it together, and I'm good to go. All right, now let's start doing some assembly work. Assembly's pretty straightforward. Fortunately, because I put the stop blocks in, it's going to be really easy. So first thing I want to do here, put some glue in my seat. Drop that in place. Now there's going to be some squeeze out. You're gluing on end grain, so make sure you put enough glue. You don't want to starve the joint. If you starve the joint on this end grain, you won't have a good joint at all. And the same goes here. We'll glue the back on. Then we'll clamp the thing. Screw it down and wipe all the excess glue off. So a couple things we want to check. We want to make sure that we got these things lined up properly. This is where having a 2-foot combination square helps out a lot. Looking pretty good. Okay, now all I got to do is screw it down. So I'm just driving 2-inch screws here. Just subsurface. And I did do a pre-drill with a little bit of a countersink just to get these things started, get them in. That way they'll be subsurface and I don't have to worry about any children injuring themselves on it. So I've marked the centers, all right, and I've used it all to drop in a point for the drill. What I'm going to do is be putting in these 3-inch deck screws, and you can see here what that's going to look like. But this goes in, how deep that's actually going to go. Now I'm going to sink these, countersink these for 2 reasons. One is to get this a little bit more depth. Second reason, however, is just to make sure that as the thing rocks, it's not hitting any wood or anything, and I'll be able to plug those. So you can see what's going to happen there. I'm going to make it perpendicular to this surface, okay, rather than driving it straight in this way, which I can either way. But the trick there is that it's going with the grain, potential for splitting. If I put it at an angle, basically following the tangent of the arc, okay, it cuts across the grain, and with doing that, you can see it's going to hold it a little bit better. All right? So I've got these set up. I've got my drill marked for the depth I want, and I've already checked this as far as the width. I got plenty of room in here. Let's start drilling. Well, this is made out of pine, and pine is pretty pale. What I'd like to do is get it a little darker than this. So I'm going to be using this Minwax Golden Pecan, which should get me to exactly the color that I think I want. Part of that I'll do too is it'll darken up the laser areas. So it should turn out pretty good. Let's give it a quick try here. And there you go. Not a lot of color, just a little bit, kind of like a light tan. You've been out in the sun for first part of the summer. So there we go. Tell you what, keep this stain going for a little while longer, and I'll be back. Stain's thoroughly dry. All right, rubbed in, dried, wiped off. Now it's dry. Now I got to put on my varnish. What I'm putting on for varnish here is nothing more than a Minwax semi-gloss. I'm going to throw that on all this. I'll do 2 coats and I'll do a quick sanding in between. So it should turn out really good. So let me get to that and we'll come back in a little bit. A couple coats of varnish and we're done. This has been a fun project and a fairly easy one too. I have to say, coming from scratch, remember from the beginning when I created this working model out of cardboard? You can kind of see where we're at with those. Then I went ahead and created that on SketchUp and then took those drawings and made this. I have to say it turned out really well. Rocks really well. I think my granddaughter is going to love this thing. So, as always, if you want to find drawings for these, right? Whoop. This one actually comes in 3 parts. If you want to find the drawings, all right, go down here to 30minutewoodshop.com. You can find those drawings. You also, if you go to the bottom, you can find the links down in the bottom. Down there's also links to things like tools and things that I use, things you might need in the project. So check those out. There might be some fun things there for you, or some tools that you might want to use. And hey, like I said, fun project. If I were you, you have a grandkid coming, or grandniece or grandnephew, I would definitely get something and build one of these. Easy to do, simple, and you'll have some fun doing it. So on that note, folks, thanks for joining, and until next time, hey, good making.